My glitch happened in February 2010. I have a friend who shares my love of history and the unexplained. Over the years, we've explored a lot of abandoned and mysterious places together. We're both females in our 40s, by the way. Anyway, so for this adventure, we decided we were going to stay at the St. James Hotel in Cimarron, New Mexico. Now, we know the St. James had a history of ghosts, and we were thrilled to spend a few nights in a haunted hotel. Not only would it be spectacular to see the history of the place, but it would be fun to see if we could catch anything spooky. So, with that in mind, I called the hotel to make reservations. I also asked about the hauntings and specifically about room number 18. Most of the ghostly tales about the St. James revolve around that room. The lady on the phone said that the room was haunted, but that it's not available for guests. They keep the room locked up due to prior problems. The stories go that so many guests have been disturbed by something in the room that management decided it was best to keep the door locked. Then the lady told me a story that happened a week earlier. Two women had been drinking at the bar downstairs. When the bar closed, they realized neither was in any shape to drive, so they booked a room at the hotel for the night. As they got settled in their room and started their sexy time, one of them looked over to see a man in a cowboy hat sitting in the rocking chair watching them. The woman screamed and turned on the light, but no one was there. The two women immediately dressed and left in the middle of the night. That happened in room number 23. I booked that room for our weekend. So the weekend finally comes. Amy and I are thrilled and excited to stay at a haunted hotel. We hope to see the cowboy ghost, but we aren't going to do sexy time to provoke him. We're both happily married and prefer sexy time with our respective husbands. We hoped he would make an appearance anyway. The glitch happened on the second night we were there, but I need to relay a few things first. Essentially, the only electric things provided in the guest rooms are the lamps. This adds to the Old West feel of the place. So there are no TVs, clocks, hair dryers, coffee makers, etc. Our first night there, we had dinner at the hotel bar restaurant. The food was good. The bar restaurant closes at 8 every night. After eating, we wandered through the lobby and talked to the lady who had checked us in. We asked a few questions and she told us there was one other guest staying in the hotel that night. Also, she was off duty at 8 p.m., but there was a security guard on duty from 8 until 6 a.m. We were free to wander around the hotel as we wanted, but the bar restaurant would be closed off and locked. The hotel doors would be closed between the guest rooms and the lobby, but they would not be locked. The hotel front door was open all night and we could come and go to smoke. So to have a smoke, we'd come down the stairs, turn right, open the hallway doors, cross the lobby and go out the front door. The downstairs guest room area is one long hallway. If there's no guest staying in a room, then that room is left open. There's a velvet rope across the doorway. The upstairs is shaped like an L with the long part of the L above the long downstairs hallway. The short part of the L is over the lobby and bar restaurant. All the guest rooms upstairs are closed and locked whether guests were staying in them or not. We heard a few unexplained things that first night and into the next morning. We finally went to bed around 4 a.m. We got up and left around noon to explore the Dawson ghost town and cemetery. We got back around 5 p.m. and went up to our room to drop some things off. We decided to have dinner at the hotel again. It was a pleasant evening and we took our time while enjoying the rustic decorations. We finished eating around 7:30 and went outside to have a smoke. We wandered back through the lobby around 7:40. The same lady was behind the desk and excitedly waved us over. She told us that we were the only ones staying at the hotel that night, so we had the run of the place without having to worry about any guest. Amy and I were so excited. Imagine being able to stay all by ourselves in a haunted hotel. We could explore every nook and cranny. We knew this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance. What are the odds that we would happen to be there by ourselves for a whole night? We knew we were very, very lucky to have this chance and we weren't going to waste a single minute. We hurried upstairs, making our plans along the way. We rushed into our room. We turned on the laptop so it would be ready for us to transfer pictures and recordings. We grabbed our cameras, recorders, and coats. Quickly looking around, we decided we had everything. As we left the room, we decided we would start the night by going outside for another smoke. This would also allow time for the bar-restaurant to close and the last customers and workers to leave. We stopped at the bottom of the stairs. The hallway doors between us and the lobby were already closed. This was a little surprising because they were open just a few minutes ago, but we figured the lady must have already closed them for the night. As we stood in front of the doors, we could hear voices. They weren't loud enough to make out words, but it sounded like two ladies in an animated conversation. We decided it was the kitchen workers finishing up for the night. As we stood there, listening to the distant conversation, we threw our coats on and stuffed the cameras and recorders into our pockets in preparation for our smoke break. Then we remembered we wanted to turn the volume down on our phones. Now, I should mention that neither Amy nor I wear watches. We both rely on our phones or nearby clocks for the time. So, while still standing in front of the closed hallway doors, we dug out our phones. The distant voices tingled into laughter and faded away. We gazed at our phones in silence. The time said 1:37 a.m. Now, during that long moment of silence, my mind went to the most reasonable explanation, and that was that my phone had messed up somehow. I flipped it open and closed it a few times, but the time stubbornly remained at 1:37. I noticed I had a missed goodnight text from my husband. The timestamp on that was 9:12 p.m. Amy and I looked at each other and back at our phones. Hers said 1:37 also. We agreed that the phones had somehow messed up, and I got up and glanced around uneasily. Our good moods became a bit more somber. It wasn't only about the phones now, but somehow the atmosphere felt thicker. I told myself I was being too jumpy and that I needed to remember how excited I was that we had the whole place to ourselves. We pushed the hallway doors open and walked quickly across the lobby, still engrossed with what was happening to our phones. The security guard was sitting in a chair reading a newspaper. As we passed by, he said, "Getting a late start tonight, ladies?" We both smiled weakly as we walked out the front door. We lit our cigarettes and studied our phones. They now said 1:38. After a brief discussion, we decided we needed to know what time it really was, so we opened the front door and asked the security guard. He glanced down at his watch and said, "Oh, it's about 20 till 2, and went back to his newspaper. We were completely stunned, in a daze. We snuffed out our cigarettes and wandered back into the lobby. Amy and I both glanced up at a wall clock. 1:43 a.m. We looked helplessly at each other and back at the clock. Still 1:43. We made our way across the lobby, through the hallway doors, and trudged up the stairs. We nervously unlocked our door and went into the room. It looked the same as we'd left it. The computer was still on and all was quiet. We both sat down and stared at our phones and at each other in confusion. We sat there and talked through each event from that evening. It was fairly straightforward. We had dinner, we went outside, we came in and talked to the lady. We went to our room. Once there, we turned on the computer and picked up our cameras, recorders, and coats. That was it. We each thought we had spent around 10 minutes in our room. At most, we could stretch it to 20 minutes, but that was a stretch. Neither of us had sat down while in the room. We had barely stopped moving because we were so excited to spend 10 hours freely roaming the vacant hotel. We knew we had gone up to our room at around 7:45 p.m. We thought we were up there between 10 and 20 minutes. We came downstairs and it was 1:37 a.m. So, what had happened? Did we lose 5 hours in our room? Did that 10 minutes become 5 hours? If so, what on earth were we doing? Like I said, we barely stopped moving because we were so excited. Did we unknowingly sit and silently stare at each other? Did we freeze in place? Neither of us felt weird in the room while we were getting our things ready. Or did we lose 5 hours as we went down the stairs? We recalled the female voices, and it was strange that the hallway doors were already closed. Did it take us 5 hours to go down the steps? We've discussed this over the years and have yet to figure it out. We talked to our husbands about it and they both agreed it was weird and very unlike us to stall for 5 hours when we have an entire haunted hotel to ourselves. Amy and I did take a few pictures that night, but the night had lost its luster. We were both on edge and I know I felt on guard, like I didn't want to relax too much. We were also both very reluctant to spend more time in our room. We finally did go to bed at around 4 a.m. and after a few restless hours we got up, checked out of the St. James and went home. We still to this day have no idea what happened. I'm a senior in high school and I drive myself every day. My car is very distinctive. The back is covered in bumper stickers of obscure bands and skateboarding related things. It has a huge dent in the back bumper, and my friend once drunkenly carved 666 into the bumper with a pocket knife, so it's not easily confused with another vehicle. Normally I leave for school at 7, but today I left at 6:15 because I had to come in early to edit a video in my TV production class. So I pull out of my driveway and go to the end of my street. I stop at the stop sign, turn on my left blinker and wait for a car moving from right to left down the road to pass. When it does, I turn after it. I immediately realize it's the same make and model, but that isn't strange because it's a common car. After driving behind it for about 30 seconds, I noticed the dent in the bumper in the same place as mine. I still didn't think much of it because lots of cars have dented bumpers. I get a little closer to the car and I see it has a bunch of bumper stickers, but I can't really see them because my headlights are off. I flipped them on out of curiosity and my stomach dropped. All of the bumper stickers were the same. I look really hard and manage to see the faint 666 carved into the bumper. Needless to say, I'm a little freaked out. The car is driving the same route I normally take to school, so I follow it. I have an idea of pulling up next to see who is driving, but I didn't have the guts. We get out onto the main road my school is on and it's still driving toward my school. We make every green light except the one for the left turn lane to get into my school parking lot. I try to look in the car's rear view mirror to maybe get a glimpse of the driver, but it's too dark. My nerves are going insane and every piece of me is screaming to just skip school today, to just smoke a bowl, go to Chick-fil-A and go to the skate park. But I want too badly to figure out why somebody has my car. The light turns green and we start to go, but the car in front of me doesn't turn into the parking lot. It makes a U-turn. I'm conflicted on whether or not to follow him. I hesitate at the front of the turning lane until somebody from behind honks at me, so I make the impulse decision and follow him. He only goes for about 100 yards before he pulls into a Walgreens and parks. To get to the Walgreens parking lot, you need to turn right into another street and then right into the lot and drive behind the Walgreens before you can park. For a brief second, I lose sight of the parked car when I'm driving behind the Walgreens. When I pull around the other side, it's gone. The spot it was in was occupied by a completely different car. Seeing it not there, I felt equally disappointed and relieved. I'm wondering now if it was all in my head or if I really did see myself driving my own car. I've been pondering as I have been writing this and I have one semi-plausible explanation. I used to live on a street about a mile to the right of where I currently live. Maybe I briefly crossed into an alternate universe where I still live there or our time streams got mixed up or something, and that's how I saw myself driving. Either way, I can't stop thinking about it. I work at a hospital as a registered respiratory therapist, and the following happened only a few hours ago. I was running 3 floors with 13 patients under my direct care. 6 of them I have treated for a few days, and I know them in terms of we have talked while I treat them. I am considered a kind person by most patients, so they talk to me and tell me about their lives and about their family. There's this particular lady, 73 years old, terminal patient. I have been treating her for 4 days now, so she knows well enough to not confuse me with anyone else. As I stated, we have talked before and even joked around. Very nice lady. At around 1:30 a.m., I was headed to her room to provide treatment, but as I was walking through the hallway, a code came in, and I had to turn around and run all the way to the ER to deal with the code the ambulance was bringing in. I was with the coding patient for a good 25 minutes with all the nurses and the doctors trying to save his life. Unfortunately, we couldn't. After that, I had to continue my normal rounds, and my next stop was obviously the lady I was going to treat prior to the code's arrival. So I went to her room, and she saw me and asked, "What happened? Did you forget something?" I thought nothing of it and told her it was time for her treatment, to which she replied, "Son, but you already gave me the treatment only a few minutes ago." I said, "Ma'am, I didn't. Did someone else come in and give you your treatment?" She said, "You gave me my treatment only a few minutes ago. You came in like you always do, asked me how I felt, and we talked about adjusting my dose because it's making my heart race like a horse, and you said that you would look into it." Mind you, she was not alone. Her granddaughter was there too, and she also said that I had been there only a few minutes ago. After trying to process what she said to me for a few seconds, I asked, "Ma'am, are you sure someone came in here and treated you?" To which she replied, "Not someone, you! You're the only one who treats me at night. You and that crazy nurse out there." I was confused and told her to hang on a minute, so I went outside. I went to the nurse's desk where the patient's records are kept to see if anyone had written on it, looking for any treatment anyone else had given her, but there was none written. I went back into the room and said that I still had to give her her treatment. Anyway, as I'm treating her, I'm asking her granddaughter about it, and she also was 100% certain it was me, and that I gave her her treatment and that we indeed talked about adjusting her dose. Now, I'm here thinking and asking myself, what the hell? I was in the ER and there are several witnesses. I was there for a good 25 minutes, but the patient and her relative claim I was in the room with them during that time. There are no records for any treatments on the main patient's records, and we RTs carry around a little chart on our personal patients for the shift, and no one else but me had it. So what happened here? I asked the nurse outside at the desk if she saw anyone going in, to which she replied, "Other than you, no one." I asked again, "Are you sure you didn't see anyone going in?" "Well, no, just you. You went in, you were in there for a few minutes, came back out, walked right past me and went down the stairs, and just came back." So the nurse is saying that I indeed went in the room, then left and now came back. But it wasn't me. I was in the ER. After all this happened, I talked to the security guard and asked him to please check the security footage and let me know if someone went in. About a half hour later, I came back and he said that yes, indeed someone went in, looked physically just like me, wearing the same uniform, but couldn't make out the face as I never actually faced the camera, so the footage never caught my face. So now, we have footage of me walking into the room, and, brace yourself, footage of me in the ER at the same time. Needless to say, they are looking into this right now. Like I said, this only happened a few hours ago. I just got home and I was driving home and all I could think was, glitch in the matrix. So here I am, posting it for you all to read. I just came back from work again, and turns out this was a big controversial subject all day and night yesterday at the hospital. Everyone is talking about it. Everyone came up to me to ask me what happened, a lot of them in complete disbelief. The hospital is taking this very seriously, though not for the same reasons we are. To them, this is a case of someone walking into the hospital and walking into someone's room for only God knows what reason. They actually are very concerned. They are investigating this because there is footage and evidence that this actually happened. A lot of my colleagues are very creeped out by this, and some are just very interested in what could have possibly happened. I was actually brought into the administrator's office to give him my account of the events. I'm not in any kind of trouble, as they know for a fact that I was in the ER when this happened. He just wanted some information. Understandably, I was ordered to keep this event between us because this actually is being considered a crime and is under investigation. The hospital's administration interviewed the patient and her granddaughter, and they stand by their word. It was me in the room with them, and it was me who treated her and talked about adjusting her dosage. They too are now very creeped out after finding out why they were being interviewed. I did talk to them as well and explained what happened, and they just couldn't believe it. They just can't understand it because they have seen me for a few days, talked to me, and joked around, and seen me in the cafeteria even, so it's not like they couldn't have confused me with someone else. It was me. About actually getting a copy of the footage, I'm looking into it. I asked the security guard, who is actually a friend, about him getting me a copy, but he can't, at least not now, because as I said, it's a case under investigation. Plus there are laws and the footage has an overlay now, with the hospital's name on it. Hopefully, he can get me a copy of the raw footage without the overlay as to not identify the hospital. But that, of course, if even possible, would be after they finish the investigation. And yes, the police are involved, and yes, they also questioned me. I have been reading up on these kind of events and have found similar stories, and too many possible explanations. Everything from ghosts to alternate universes to colliding timelines, so I have no idea what this could be. Who knows? The hospital is still being investigated, but so far, there has been no development. They are stumped. No one has come clean about going into the room for any reason, so no one was impersonating me as far as the hospital is concerned. The patient and relative both stand by their word, as so does the nurse who says she saw me going into the room then out and down the stairs, only to see me come back a few minutes later. I'm starting to get the impression that this whole deal will be swept under the rug, never to be discussed again. I don't want that to happen. I want answers. After all, it involves me and someone pretending to be me. Of all people, why not the DR or a nurse? If and when any new developments come to light, I will update again. Also, I will try to push the security guard for a copy of the video. I have seen it and the person most definitely does look like me. I still can't get over that people are saying that it was me. I don't know what to think. I think they are sweeping this under the rug, so to speak. For the last few days, no one is talking about it. I asked the administrator if there were any new developments and he just said no, then changed the subject. They either have no clue and are just letting it go, or they know something and are covering it up. I keep pushing for an answer, but each time I am stonewalled. This really bothers me, not just because I'm not getting answers, but because I'm involved in this investigation. My name is floating on some desk regarding this incident, and I feel that I have a right to know. Hello, I'm new to Reddit, so apologies if this isn't the proper etiquette on here. But I told this story to a friend a few days ago and he insisted I post it here. Now, I don't normally talk to people about this, but after reading some other stories here, I feel comfortable enough sharing my experience. I guess a heads up because it does get a little gory, but I'll try to spare some detail. As stated, yeah, I relived the same day 3 times. Some backstory. I've worked retail most of my life. Most people hate retail, but I've always enjoyed it. While I've worked in big single stores on strips, I usually work in mall chain stores, which is where I was working when this happened. It was maybe 5 years ago. I was 18. This was my first ever retail job, and I'd been working there for about 6 months. I woke up to a phone call around 9:30 a.m. from my manager asking me to come into work because a coworker was a no-show. The state I was living in at the time has this thing called tax-free weekend, where there's no tax on merchandise, basically saving 10% on top of any ongoing sales. So we get really busy during this time. I told her to give me a little bit to get ready. I'd be there in about an hour. I show up about 10:15 and clock in. My manager thanking me for coming in at short notice. Blah blah blah. The day goes on as usual. In the afternoon, I want to say around 2 p.m., my manager goes into the back room to pull something out of shipment. Very normal thing to do working here. Our back room is about 2 stories tall and with cement floor. We have big ass ladders to help reach the top shelves. I always like sitting on the top step. I'm pretty short, so being that high up was always fun. Also, for anyone who's worked in retail before, you probably can imagine how cluttered a stockroom can get, especially during busy times of the year. So we had a few boxes on the floor and on the shelves. Some with merchandise stuff, some just full of extra shirt hangers and wall hooks. Well, not even 5 minutes after going into the back room, there's a loud crash. Me and my other coworker run into the back to see if everything's okay, and we are staring at my manager laying on the floor with a ladder on top of her and her skull split open. And again, I'm sorry if there's any rules against gore on this subreddit, so I don't want to go into too much detail, but it's an image that sticks with me to this day. Just staring at her, the pool of blood around her head getting bigger every second. From the looks of it, I can only guess she was trying to grab a box off one of the shelves and lost her footing on the ladder, so it fell over. Her left leg seemed hooked on one of the steps, and her body swung underneath her and the ladder fell, so she landed headfirst into the cement flooring. My coworker straight up screamed and ran into the bathroom, and I started vomiting. Seeing that was too much. Even now I'm shaking remembering everything. I realized mid-barf that our store was still full of customers. I quickly went out front, very pale and probably looking disgustingly sick, and told everyone they needed to leave. I apologized for any inconvenience, but I think they could tell something was very wrong. We called 911. The mall I worked at was going through a bad spot of people being jumped in the parking lot, so there were already real police on the scene. My coworker still shaking and crying. I'm just a complete ghost. I've never really gone into panic mode when shit hits the fan, but I was definitely feeling shocked and very, very sick. After a quick questioning, the police could tell we were both in no condition to speak. By the time the ambulance had arrived, we had both already left. They wouldn't tell us if she was going to make it, but looking at her, the way she fell, the split in her skull, I already knew she was dead. I went home. I was still living with my parents at the time. My dad was sitting on the couch watching TV. He asked why I was home early and immediately saw how I looked. He turned off the TV, asked me if I was okay and what was wrong. I immediately just started puking again, right on the floor. He ran over to me. I fell to my knees vomiting and crying, trying to explain what happened, choking on my words. I started getting a little lightheaded, probably due to the shock and the loss of bodily fluids. Then I just blacked out. I woke up in bed to a phone call around 9:30 a.m. I felt completely fine in comparison to the day before, but waking up to my phone ringing did kind of freak me out. Then I saw it was my manager's phone number calling me. My eyes bugged out and I started sweating, and I answered the phone in a pretty shaky voice. To my complete surprise, my manager was on the other end of the phone, as perky as usual, asking me if I could come in to cover for a coworker who was a no-show. I could barely speak. My voice started cracking. I told her yes, followed by a, "So are you okay? After yesterday?" She sounded confused and asked what I was talking about, saying she was fine. I couldn't really find the right words to explain what had happened, so I told her never mind and that I'd come in about an hour. I got off the phone and just sat in my bed for a while. Now, side note, I'm a vivid dreamer. I've even had lucid dreams occasionally without using those training guides some people on the internet have made. It comes very naturally to me. I can admit, I've had very realistic dreams, but this was not a dream. There was no way in hell it was a dream. I remember it all so clearly, so even though I managed to convince myself it was all just a horrible, horrible dream, I knew in the back of my mind and in the pit of my fucking soul that it fucking happened. I come into work 10:15. My manager is at the register. She waves me and thanks me for coming in at short notice. I tell her it's no problem and then quietly ask her if she's sure she's okay. Now she gets a really concerned look on her face and says, "I'm fine. Why are you so worried? Are you feeling alright? I know I need the extra help, but you didn't have to come in if you weren't feeling well. I realized I may have been freaking her out a bit, so I laugh it off and tell her it's no big deal. I just had a really freaky dream about you. She laughs and shrugs it off. We continue working. I'm really on edge throughout the day, but we were so busy I kind of had to force all the nonsense to the back of my mind for now. Again, afternoon rolls around. I'm helping a customer at the dressing room when I get this sudden sense of deja vu mixed with impending doom. I call out to my coworker and ask where our manager went, to which they tell me she went to the back to get some shipment. My heart stops. I run into the back room and open the door just as I hear the loud crash again. This time I saw her head slam against the cement floor. I went ghost again, standing in the doorway. Soon enough, my coworker ran up behind me saying, "What happened? What happened?" until they saw it themselves. Immediately, they start screaming again, almost robotic. I go out front, ask the customers to leave. We call the cops, only this time I leave before they show up. My mind was simultaneously completely blank and running on overdrive trying to figure out what the fuck was happening. I go home, my dad on the couch watching TV, realizing I'm upset, asking what was wrong. I tell him my manager is dead. I go to the liquor cabinet. I just grab a bottle of whiskey and go up to my room. I chug the shit. I go numb. I pass out. I wake up at around 9:30 to a phone call from my manager. After drinking nearly a full bottle of whiskey, I'm surprised I feel no hangover. I answer my phone and without my manager even speaking, I say, "I'll come in. Give me a little bit to get ready." I hang up, get dressed, show up a quarter after 10. She stares at me, very confused. "Glad you could be here, but what the fuck was that on the phone?" "Don't worry about it." I go about my workday as usual, keeping a close eye on my manager. Around 2 p.m., I see her begin walking to the back room. I bolt to her and ask her what she needs. Just some of the wall hooks." I offer to get them for her. She tells me it's okay, she could do it herself, but to be honest, I practically pushed her out of the way to get to the ladder before her. I'm trying really hard to act natural, but I was worried about two things. One, I've watched time travel movies, reality skipping and whatnot. Usually the person who dies just ends up dying in a different way if you prevent their death. 2, okay, what if she doesn't die? But what if I do? I start climbing the ladder, really worried I'm climbing to my death, but I grab the box of hooks easily, tell my manager to watch out as I drop them to the floor, only to hear her say, "Oh, that was smart. Whenever I get a box, I carry it back down with me. They're always telling me I'm gonna hurt myself." She smiles. It's a joke. I just feel a shiver down my spine. I climb down the ladder, try to crack a smile and finish my shift for the day. I get home. My dad's on the couch watching TV. He asks how work was. I say fine, but that I was really tired and I was going to take a nap. I go upstairs and get changed. I get in bed and for a while just stare at my ceiling, hoping I don't have to deal with that shit ever again. I ended up waking up the next morning closer to 11, which is already a relief. I have a text from my manager thanking me for my help yesterday and asking if I'm feeling better because I was looking a bit pale and acting kind of tired. I just tell her I'm fine, and that was pretty much it. Hard to believe, probably, and I'm not telling you you have to believe me because if someone tried to tell me something like this happened to them, I'd probably think they had a very active imagination, but I'm convinced this was some kind of in-game mission that I could only pass if my manager survived. Hey guys, thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join the Nightmare Army. I'm always looking for new soldiers in my Nightmare Nation. So guys, I hope everybody enjoyed the video, and I hope everybody had a really great Tuesday as well. And, since Halloween is right around the corner, I was wondering for a Friday video, would you guys want true scary ghost stories mixed in with some true scary cryptid stories too? I mean, what do you guys think about that? Anyway, since I said before Halloween is right around the corner according to Target, who already has Christmas decorations. Very weird. Anyways, guys, like I said, since Halloween is right around the corner, I want to know, what are some horror movies that you guys like to watch on Halloween? And what are some horror movies that you guys can suggest to me that I should watch this time around? I have a huge horror marathon all the time with my family whenever Halloween starts. I love it so much, and I want to know, what are some new movies you guys could suggest to me? But anyways, guys, as always, thank you all for watching, and just remember, the best ideas always come out of nightmares.